In the heart of a vast jungle, there lived a lion named Oren. He was strong, fearless, and proud. Oren wore a golden crown that sparkled in the sun. Every animal in the jungle admired him. He was the king, not just of the land, but of respect. Oren had a vision to make his kingdom prosperous. Like a skilled investor, he observed every opportunity. Every morning, he would survey the jungle from the great rock. Birds chirped, monkeys played, and the river glimmered below. But Oren's focus was sharp. He looked for growth, opportunities, and success. Early in his reign, he made small, smart decisions. He invested his energy wisely. He nurtured alliances with elephants and wise owls. He did not waste time on meaningless disputes. The prey respected his hunting rules. The smaller animals felt safe under his protection. His strategies worked. His influence grew. The jungle thrived under his rule. Other lions envied him. They tried to copy his style. But none could match Oren's intelligence. He was a natural leader. And yet, success began to change him. Pride crept into his heart. Confidence turned into overconfidence. He started ignoring warnings from the wise. The owl, named Sapiens, advised caution. "King, the jungle changes," said Sapiens. "You cannot rely on past victories forever." The turtle, named Taro, moved slowly and said, "Patience and consistency will outlast shortcuts, Oren." But Oren only smiled. "I am the king. My instinct is enough," he replied. Pride blinded him, and pride is expensive in finance. Oren decided to expand his territory aggressively. He concentrated all resources in one hunting ground. He ignored diversification. He ignored the signs of change. Prey started moving further away. Rivers began to dry during the season. Weather patterns shifted subtly but surely. Yet Oren's focus was on immediate gain. He rewarded the brave hunters lavishly. He punished those who questioned him. Confidence turned into arrogance. The jungle started whispering. The monkeys observed his reckless decisions. Birds watched from above. Even the wise owl sighed quietly. "Too much greed clouds judgment," said Sapiens. But no one dared to speak openly to the king. Oren was untouchable, or so he thought. He believed his golden crown would protect him. He ignored risk management entirely. Like many investors, he assumed markets would always favor him. And at first, things went well. Success reinforced his arrogance. Food was abundant. Rivers were full. Other animals followed his lead without question. His advisors felt powerless to intervene. Even Taro, the turtle, moved slower, watching silently. But then came the first sign of trouble. A neighboring jungle claimed part of his territory. Oren ignored it, assuming it was temporary. "My power is unmatched," he roared. But disputes began to rise. Competition increased. Prey became scarce. Tensions in the jungle grew. Oren's hunting teams struggled. He doubled down on risky strategies. He pushed his hunters further than ever before. Fatigue spread. The younger lions grew restless. Some questioned his decisions quietly. "Are we overreaching?" whispered one. Oren overheard but dismissed it. "Doubt is weakness," he replied. Meanwhile, the wise owl studied the environment. "Change is inevitable," he muttered. "Only those who adapt will survive." The lion's pride prevented adaptation. Like investors clinging to past wins, he ignored warnings. Then came the day of the great hunt. Oren decided to go after the largest prey. The risk was enormous. His pride made him take it. The jungle held its breath. Hunters followed him faithfully. But the prey was clever. They led Oren into difficult terrain. Rocks and rivers slowed his advance. Fatigue set in. The hunters struggled to keep up. The prey escaped. And then disaster struck. Oren slipped on a wet rock. His golden crown tilted. A loud crack echoed through the trees. The crown was damaged. Not broken completely, but weakened. Oren roared in frustration. Pride wounded him more than the slip. The jungle animals whispered among themselves. "Even the strongest can fail," murmured a parrot. Oren tried to hide the crack. He continued to act confident. But inside, doubt crept in. Financially, this was like losing a major asset unexpectedly. Confidence had been shaken. Investors call this a market correction. Oren still refused to listen. He pushed for bigger hunts. He ignored diversification entirely. Even Taro, the turtle, tried to warn him again. "Slow and steady, my king," said Taro. "We must plan for the long term." But Oren only roared louder. He became aggressive, chasing immediate gains. Mistakes started piling up. Prey became scarce. Water sources dried up. Smaller animals grew fearful. The jungle's harmony started collapsing. Even the elephant advisors shook their heads. "Patience, Oren. Think ahead," they advised. But he refused to heed them. Confidence became recklessness. Every decision was riskier than the last. Some hunters questioned openly. Oren punished them to maintain authority. Fear, not respect, controlled his team. Meanwhile, the owl watched silently. "Pride precedes downfall," he said. Oren ignored it. The jungle began to change faster. New predators entered territories. Climate shifted unpredictably. Oren still chased massive prey. He underestimated small threats. Financially, he ignored risk management completely. One day, a rival lion challenged him. Oren accepted immediately. Pride blinded him. The fight was fierce. Oren was injured slightly. Oren returned to the great rock, nursing his pride and minor injury. His golden crown sat crooked on his head. Whispers spread throughout the jungle. "Even the king can falter," said a parrot softly. Oren felt a pang of doubt, though he tried to hide it. He decided to hunt again, larger prey this time. His confidence was still high, but caution was missing. The jungle was changing faster than he could adapt. Rivers had less water than before. Trees were losing leaves prematurely. Prey was migrating to distant parts of the forest. Oren's hunters grew tired. They whispered about the risks but feared the king's wrath. Oren ignored their concerns. "Victory is everything," he roared, and once again, he invested all his energy into a single ambitious hunt. Like a reckless investor, he concentrated all resources in one risky asset. The prey sensed danger and split into smaller groups. Oren's plan began to unravel immediately. Exhausted, the hunters started falling behind. Oren felt frustration building in his chest. This was the first real loss he had faced. His golden crown now felt heavier than before. The jungle sensed his hesitation. Small animals whispered among themselves. "He is no longer as sharp as he once was," said a young rabbit. Even the birds flew cautiously above, noticing the tension. The owl, Sapiens, perched quietly, observing every move. "Patience is still his missing skill," muttered Sapiens. The lion roared, trying to reclaim his confidence. But his roar sounded weaker than usual. The jungle had changed, but he had not. Pride had blinded him, and pride is the downfall of many. That night, Oren reflected on the day. His chest felt heavy with unspoken worry. He realized that the jungle was no longer the same as when he first ruled. Yet he still did not understand the financial metaphor of his mistakes. Like an investor ignoring market signals, he kept chasing the same strategy. Days passed, and the jungle continued to shift. New predators emerged, and alliances changed. Oren struggled to maintain control. His hunting ground no longer produced consistent results. The crown on his head was no longer a symbol of invincibility. It had become a reminder of fragile power. Oren felt a mix of anger and fear. He realized that overconfidence had led him here. He called his council, the wise owl, the slow turtle, and the elder elephant. "We must find a solution," he said. Sapiens the owl replied, "King, the jungle is teaching a lesson. Diversify, adapt, and observe." Oren frowned. "I have always succeeded by instinct," he said. "Why change now?" Taro the turtle spoke slowly. "King, instinct alone cannot predict all shifts. Long-term strategies endure where short-term bursts fail." Oren was silent, feeling the weight of his errors. He began thinking about his early days. When he first became king, he relied on patience, observation, and small calculated risks. Success then had been built gradually. But he had forgotten these lessons. Pride had made him reckless. Financially, he had concentrated all resources into one risky move. And now, he faced losses. Prey was scarce. Territory was contested. His reputation was at risk. Yet, hope was still possible. Sapiens advised, "You can recover, but only if you learn from your mistakes." Oren nodded reluctantly. "Show me the way," he said. The owl, turtle, and elephant began teaching him the principles of sustainable strategy. Diversification, patience, small consistent gains, risk management and long-term vision, observation and knowledge before action. Oren listened intently. Slowly, he realized the crown was not a symbol of power alone. It was a symbol of responsibility. He needed to respect the jungle and its balance. That night, he made a plan. Step by step, he would regain control. First, he would reduce risky hunts. Then, he would allocate hunters across multiple areas. Small, steady gains rather than reckless big wins. The owl guided him in tracking prey movement. The turtle taught him patience in allocating resources. Even the elephant helped in building alliances. Slowly, progress returned. Small successes started appearing. Prey returned to hunting grounds. Confidence grew, but this time measured confidence. Oren realized the value of long-term planning. One by one, he rebuilt trust among the jungle animals. Monkeys and birds observed the change. Small animals felt safer. The jungle started to thrive again. Financially, this is like recovering a portfolio after losses. Diversification and strategy had saved the king. Oren no longer sought instant glory. He embraced gradual wealth building. Risk was carefully managed. Pride was replaced with humility. Months passed, and the jungle stabilized. Oren learned to listen more. He observed the environment carefully. Patterns in prey movement became predictable. Alliances were nurtured. Wealth returned slowly but steadily. The crown no longer shone blindly. It reflected wisdom. Oren had become a different king, one who understood the balance of risk and reward. The owl nodded approvingly. "Now you see," said Sapiens, "strength is not just about raw power. It is about knowledge, strategy, and patience." Oren smiled, realizing the deeper lesson. Even the smallest animals had a role in the jungle's balance. Like small investors, consistent effort mattered. The turtle, once ignored, became his symbol of steady growth. Prey populations stabilized. Water sources returned to balance. Harmony returned to the jungle. The animals respected Oren not only for his strength, but for his wisdom. Financially, he had learned to diversify. He did not put all his energy into a single risky venture again. Slow, steady, and calculated growth became his new strategy. His hunters were rewarded fairly. Mistakes were acknowledged, not punished blindly. Oren's reputation grew stronger than ever, because respect earned through wisdom lasts longer than fear. Investors call this recovery through disciplined strategy. Oren had learned that wealth is fragile without patience. The jungle became a thriving ecosystem again. Predators and prey coexisted in balance. The golden crown, once cracked, now symbolized resilience. Oren became a mentor to younger lions, teaching them about strategy, patience, and observation. "Do not chase short-term glory," he advised. "Build wealth like the river shapes the land, slowly and steadily." Even the wise owl seemed proud of the king. Small animals whispered about the lessons they had learned. Trust and respect returned to the jungle. Like a diversified portfolio, the jungle was balanced. No single failure could destroy it now. Oren realized that real leadership is responsibility, not just power. The cracks in the crown reminded him daily of past mistakes, but they also symbolized lessons learned. Financial wisdom is often forged through failures. Like Oren, investors must respect risk and balance. Overconfidence is dangerous. Patience is profitable. Observation prevents loss. And small, steady gains outperform reckless ventures. The owl, turtle, and elephant became advisors permanently. The jungle became a learning environment. Young lions studied the king's mistakes. They learned to balance risk with strategy. Prey learned to adapt and coexist. The ecosystem thrived. Harmony returned to every corner of the jungle. Even the river seemed to flow with renewed purpose. Oren stood on the great rock once again. His crown glinted, but humbly now. Pride was tempered with wisdom. Confidence was backed by careful planning. The jungle cheered, not just for strength, but for lessons learned. Even rival lions respected him. Stories of his recovery spread far beyond the jungle. Investors in nearby lands could learn from Oren's mistakes. They saw the importance of strategy over blind risk. They admired patience and discipline. Oren had become more than a king. He was a teacher. The golden crown symbolized knowledge as much as power. The jungle animals had all learned valuable lessons. Small mistakes were corrected before they grew. Resources were managed efficiently. Growth was sustainable. Like a well-managed portfolio, the jungle flourished. Oren no longer chased every shiny opportunity. He understood the value of steady returns. High risk without strategy was a lesson he would never forget. The turtle slowly moved alongside him, a symbol of steady progress. The owl perched high, ever watchful. Even the monkeys learned to plan rather than act impulsively. The jungle thrived like never before. Seasons changed, but the balance remained. Prey and predator maintained harmony. Oren's golden crown, once broken, now represented wisdom earned. Mistakes had taught him humility. Risks were now measured. Patience had replaced recklessness. The lion had finally understood the essence of leadership. And the financial metaphor was clear. Strength without strategy is fragile. Overconfidence leads to loss. Gradual, consistent growth ensures stability. Knowledge and observation prevent disaster. The jungle became a model for balance and prosperity. Oren taught every generation of animals about these lessons. Power is meaningless without responsibility, he said. Wealth is fragile without discipline. Investors take note. Even kings can fall without strategy. Even the mightiest can recover with patience. Diversification is key. Observation prevents mistakes. Small steps lead to lasting success. Oren's hunters learned to calculate risk. Prey learned to adapt to avoid catastrophe. The jungle evolved as a resilient system. Even the rivers reflected steady flow, like slow wealth accumulation. The sun rose over the great rock, shining on Oren's crown. The cracks were still visible, a reminder of past mistakes. But they no longer symbolized failure. They symbolized learning. Lessons applied. Growth achieved. Oren had mastered the balance between strength and wisdom. And in finance, this is the ultimate goal: to grow steadily, survive risks, and emerge wiser. The jungle thrived under his guidance. Investors nearby noticed and learned from him. Stories of the lion's rise, fall, and recovery spread. Young lions studied his mistakes carefully. They learned that patience beats impulsive action, that slow, steady planning beats reckless risk. Oren became a living legend. His golden crown no longer represented mere power. It symbolized wisdom, resilience, and financial strategy. The owl, turtle, and elephant continued guiding him. The jungle flourished like a well-diversified portfolio. Even rival predators respected the new order. Cooperation, strategy, and balance became common practice. Prey survived wisely. The ecosystem became stronger than ever. Oren's pride transformed into careful respect. Investors could see the metaphor clearly. Strength alone does not ensure survival. Balance, knowledge, patience, and strategy do. Oren's golden crown became a symbol of earned wisdom. Mistakes had carved lessons into its surface. Each crack told a story of learning and recovery, and the lion embraced it. The jungle had taught him humility and financial wisdom. The animals thrived, the rivers flowed, the trees stood tall. Harmony returned, stronger than ever. Oren's story became legend. It was told to every new generation of animals. Even the mightiest can fail, they said. Even kings must learn discipline. Investors in nearby lands listened carefully. They applied the same lessons: patience, diversification, and strategy. The jungle became a metaphor for smart wealth. Lessons of risk and reward were clear. The turtle, small but consistent, was celebrated as much as the lion. The owl's wisdom guided many future leaders. Oren walked slowly across the great rock, observing the harmony. He felt pride tempered by wisdom. Confidence now came from knowledge, not arrogance. He taught young lions, observe first, act later. Plan before taking risks. Wealth grows slowly but sustainably. Overconfidence destroys even the strongest. The jungle had recovered, stronger than before. Even small animals contributed to the ecosystem. The river reflected steady flow, like compound interest. Trees represented long-term investments, slow but powerful growth. Every animal had a role in sustaining balance. The forest taught lessons that applied beyond its borders. Investors learned to watch, wait, and act wisely. Wealth was protected by discipline. Mistakes became opportunities to learn, and small, consistent gains were celebrated. Oren's golden crown symbolized resilience, not just power. His story traveled far and wide. Other jungles began adopting similar strategies. Young lions became careful leaders. Prey populations adapted intelligently. The ecosystem was resilient, diverse, and strong. Even the rivers flowed predictably, like disciplined returns. Oren realized that power without wisdom is fragile. Strategy without patience is risky. Knowledge without application is wasted. The jungle thrived because lessons were applied. Every animal contributed to the system. Leadership now required responsibility, not just strength. Wealth required planning, not just luck. Oren looked at his crown again. The cracks reminded him daily of past mistakes. He smiled, embracing them. Each crack told a story of learning, recovery, and wisdom. Investors could see the moral clearly. Diversify your risks. Stay patient. Observe the environment carefully. Slow, consistent gains last longer than fast, reckless ones. The jungle had become a model of resilience. Oren taught these lessons to anyone willing to learn. Young animals followed his guidance eagerly. The owl continued to advise. The turtle continued to move steadily. Even the elephant watched carefully, ensuring balance. Prey and predator coexisted in harmony. The jungle thrived financially and ecologically. The lion's crown, though cracked, symbolized wisdom.